Okay, record. Okay, so it's recording now. So Gail, thank you for coming back onto the show. This is another episode of the Coronavirus War Room, and we're going to be talking about current events, some of the things that are going on, what your perspective is, and anything you'd like to share with the channel. So thank you for coming on again.
Thank you for having me.
So, as you know, there's been, I was telling you behind the scenes that Dr. Pedersen, his company was raided by the FBI. And this happened on April 29th. I heard about it today. So Dr. Pedersen has another business partner that I talk to regularly. And he does also the scheduling, and he's kind of like the behind the scenes guy. And so he told me the story. So they confiscated the laboratory, the manufacturing facility, all the bank accounts, and no one can buy product now, either at the retail level or at the wholesale level. And the reason is that Pedersen said some comments that the FDA thinks was, a little bit too flamboyant, but he said them a long time ago. And they rebranded, if people have heard, the Alex Jones was saying some things that were a little bit edgy with nanosilver. So that started an investigation. So when that happened, Dr. Pedersen and his product was rebranded, and all videos that were on my channel and on other channels were scrubbed, and we refilmed to rebrand the products so it was more compliant to what the FDA wanted. Well, the FBI didn't like that, and they went after Pedersen because he's been going on mainstream media now. So he was just doing this kind of level, but he's elevated to mainstream. And once he elevated to mainstream, they attacked him. Same thing with George Webb. George Webb elevated to mainstream, and they attacked him.
What exactly happened with George Webb?
He was on CNN, and they were trying to do a hit piece to make him a conspiracy theorist.
Okay.
But he has facts that backs up. I mean, he has facts after fact after fact. So he's not a conspiracy theorist. He's just conspiracy.
So if he has all those facts lined up, then he's not making things up. He's showing evidence.
Exactly. So there's a coordinated effort that's going on, even with doctors that have shown that vitamin C for certain diseases helps certain types of patients. It's not a cure-all for everybody, but that's the key, is that for certain types of patients, certain types of homeopathic or certain type of vitamin protocols help patients in cancer or other diseases. Everyone that's been in the world of homeopathy,
like chaga,
and the chaga mushroom and the vitamin C and all this, and that was the story right from Cliff High, and that's how he helped himself get through cancer.
So talking on your show, and I was just thinking wow, I have chaga really often. It's one of the recipes in my recipe book.
Yeah, see, I don't take it. So I have to try it. I don't take it, but I have to try it. But what was interesting is that after my conversation with Cliff, I found out that chaga mushroom, the compounds in it have the same compounds that are in that birch bark extract that I was telling you about. That was the antiviral that came out of that research paper. So I thought, but chaga mushroom has actually higher concentrations of those. So it's actually better to take the chaga mushroom than the birch bark extract. So the point is that you based on your personal experience with your children, have found that it's about what you eat and nutrition and having the right nutraceuticals, stuff that helps with proper homeostasis in the body. So the powers that be, they don't want these doctors to say these things, because they want everyone to be on this treadmill of pharmaceuticals and vaccines. And so they're going after doctors like Buttar, and Dr. Pedersen, or other homeopathic types. Even though Dr. Buttar isn't homeopathic, he's actually a DO, a surgeon, actually, DO surgeon. I think general surgery, but he, so there's many different people that are kind of proving that this nutraceutical or homeopathy it does help a lot of people, but they're getting clamped down. That whole industry is getting clamped down by the FDA. So it's not just Dr. Pedersen, they're targeting different people. So with that said, and knowing about what's going on with, I don't know if you've heard about this warp speed advancement.
Yeah, I heard it from your episode earlier, but even before that, I heard it a day before your episode released as well.
So this is what President Trump talked about. So with that as the backdrop, just tell me what you think is going on. What's your opinions? Or any other information that you would like to share?
Well, the moment that I heard what you were talking about with the warp speed, and I had heard that from another source as well, I thought the same thing that you were saying, like they haven't had enough time for proper testing. And I was actually getting pretty worked up and pretty emotional when I was listening, not just to yours, but then Green Greg's had hopped on and he was reiterating about the food issues and such, and just all these things coming at me at once, and just the way I'm feeling about things, it was just stirring me up and kind of making me feel pretty upset, because I'm hearing from sources like there was a video that was out about a farmer who was talking about what was being done and how animals were either being just killed off or sterilized, and milk was just being dumped and chickens were being killed, and all these different things. And then I'm hearing about like the vaccines, and I know personally, like, because I fought so hard to heal my own kids, that the idea of a platform that wasn't fully tested, if that's the platform they go with, the messenger RNA platform, and just forcing vaccines, not even giving a person a choice to decide whether or not he or she wants the vaccine, and they're rushing it. I personally feel like they've had the vaccine all along, even though it seems like it's kind of difficult to believe. I don't know why, but when we talked a few episodes or a few sessions beforehand, I remember saying, like, no, they have a vaccine. And I was like channeling it. And I'm like, how is that possible? I don't know. Like, certain things come out of my mouth and I don't know how I'm saying that. Like, that doesn't make sense. But then also, like, I don't know if that video was real or fake, the one with that we put up with those two gentlemen, and someone said, oh, they're all vaccinated. And then I was kind of thinking to myself, like, they must have this vaccine. And even if they didn't, like, it's still, they're rushing this vaccine, which just...
Well, just to clarify, I'm sure researchers and laboratories have vaccines, but they haven't been proven out. So They could be on the shelf, never been proven vaccine.
Yes, that's a good point. That's a good point. So maybe that's why I'm like feeling that essence, because I'm trying to put it together. Like, I feel like they've had a vaccine, that this is part of their plan. But then I'm like, how is that possible? Okay, have they tested this? And I still go back to, I feel like they're trying to slip something into there as well. If not first, then like you said, maybe they'll do it later on. And my show that I did with Fleurbrun last year, well before all this, and it was back in August, I was getting the information coming to me that they were going to put something in vaccines. There were already things in vaccines. I was trying to figure it out and how they could do that. So I have that one talk on Blog Talk Radio about the chemicalization in vaccines and such. So I'm trying to piece this all together. I mean, nothing makes sense. Like, it just doesn't make logical sense. Like, why disrupt all the food chain? And I mean, it seems like this is all part of an agenda to me. And I went back and listened more about Agenda 21 and the depopulation, and just like when you put all these different things together, and these people and their backgrounds and so much, it feels like we're being put in this hole, like we're being packed into a point where we have no choice, but we still have a choice. It's just a feeling. It's a way that they make us feel. And like going to the food store, yesterday I took my kids to the food store and I hadn't gone in a long time. And the lineup, it felt like Disneyland to like line up and 6 feet apart, and almost everyone had a mask, and my kids and I didn't have masks, and it was just so bizarre feeling. Only certain amount of people could go in the store. And I mean, I know people have been talking about it, but I hadn't actually experienced it thus far, and I was just going in for 2 bags of potatoes and some bananas. It was so bizarre. And then the store reeked of chemicals, and I'm thinking, gosh, these chemicals are so harsh. And I'm like, if I'm not going to, like, if it's not one thing, it's going to be another. Like, if it's not that I'm going to get COVID-19, then I'm going to be
poisoned by the.
Yeah, like it was horrible. And I have acquaintances and friends that have been complaining on platforms like Facebook, like they can't even go to a store because it's so chemicalized now that their whole bodies, especially one lady who has had a vaccine injury and she's had it her whole life, the chemicals just really break her down. And so she's not even able to go to a store. And I was thinking, gosh, think of people that are immunocompromised and they're trying to go shopping and they're being affected by the chemicals. I'm like, oh my gosh. I mean, these are tangents, but if you put everything together, it feels like we're at a point where we really need to take a stand. So I went on David Devine's Patreon, and I got some interesting responses from that, because I put in like a whole lineup of like what I think we should do and how we should do it. And I haven't gotten a response from him yet. I'm curious to see what he has to say about it. But I was pretty much talking about things that you and I have talked about how I think that we should just make a stand and say, no, it's my choice whether I want to get vaccinated or not. You can't force me if that comes to that. But I mean, I know you were talking about there could be an executive order where that could come into play, and that hasn't quite happened yet. So we still have time and things like that to work on that.
So my concern is that Trump is already laying the foundation for that by saying, well, we're going to do warp speed for this vaccine. It'll be ready in January. You know, how does he know it's going to be ready in January? He hasn't even done the clinical trials yet. And then,
like this is all part of the plan.
Yeah, and it's like, so
it's a script.
So it's almost to me that it's already been set in stone that there's going to be a second wave. He'll do the executive order after he's reelected, and it's going to be around January when it happens.
Now, with that executive order, can we still fight that in like the Supreme Court and such, or how does that work? Like,
because an executive order from the president doesn't mean it's constitutional.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So we can still fight that.
Right.
So that was my thought when I heard you say that.
What's your take on? I had a recording with Mike Adams. It hasn't been published yet on Brighteon yet, and I'll get the link and then I'll publish it on my channel too. But we talked heavily about Dr. Pedersen, and we talked heavily about the idea of this Occupy America. Mike Adams was tied into the protest movement against Monsanto's when they had the worldwide Monsanto's uprising, I guess you want to call it, or you know. So Diamond from Oppenheimer Ranch was tied into that.
Okay.
And I think it's time to actually talk to people that have organized against Monsanto's and, like Occupy Wall Street, to actually reactivate that kind of movement. But it's not specific to a company, and it's not specific to the financial industry. It's actually focused on our civil liberties and the prevention of these elements of the Biopatriot Act, which is the decaching, the forced vaccinations, the inability to even work. I mean, your governors are saying if you don't have the antibody, you can't go back to work. I mean, what right do they have to tell you that you can prevent someone prevent someone from working, especially if it's cross state lines? I mean, there's lots of laws against curtailing interstate commerce. So
and then that contact tracing too, that video you posted.
Right, that contact tracing
that's
from Bloomberg.
Where I got like really emotional when I heard that. I was just like,
exactly.
I react in my body physically reacts when I hear certain things because I get like, oh, I know what that means.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, I think that the time is that, remember I was telling you about, what is the Boston Tea Party moment? I was like looking for it and I was thinking, well, maybe it's burning down E7 towers. Maybe it was, something else. But I think the Boston Tea Party moment is this Bloomberg thing. The tracing of individuals.
It's interesting. John Hopkins is involved. The same one from Event 201. I heard that.
It is.
Oh my gosh.
The more and more you look into this, the more and more they're telling us what the playbook is. Oh
yes. Well, I told you they have to tell you.
Well, I don't know why that is. I mean, here's some like a strange theory. I don't believe it, but this is a strange theory on what's going on.
Okay.
It's possible that Bloomberg has to do this, but what he's doing is he's warning us through Event 201 to try for us to prevent it from happening. But he's compromised and has to do it. You follow me?
Yeah. I mean, there have been many cases in history where someone was forced to.
Right, but they warn the public to try to stop it. But they have to try to make it happen. They have to try to make the negative event happen. But they're warning the public to try to prevent them from doing it. Does that make any sense?
Oh yes, absolutely. It's like if you're being held hostage and you're trying to give a signal to someone like.
Right. Exactly. So kind of, yeah. So I don't know if that's what's going on with Event 201 or what. I don't know, but I whatever the plan is, it's eroding our civil liberties. So I think people should galvanize and start doing this Occupy America. And you saw kind of the prototype of it within the Occupy movement and what happened with Monsanto's.
I was going to say, I think it's a really good idea if you do tap into people like Diamond. Diamond has a huge history in working in that area, in that domain. And also when the ladies here were getting ready to demonstrate against the vaccines, they were calling it wanting to educate people about what was in the vaccines. And they were creating signs and trying to figure out what should be on the signage and where they should go, what kind of event should they go to, and what should they dress in and such. They consulted Joshua Coleman, whom you've already interviewed. Mm-hmm. He turned out to be an excellent resource for them. And so they consulted him a lot. And that's how I wound up getting you connected with him. So likewise, I mean, tap into those people if they already have that experience, and then they can be the guides for that.
Exactly. You know what was interesting is Dr. Judy Mikovits. Mm-hmm. She's going to be on my channel on May 15th. I'm going to do a 2-hour recording. Addy Ads is trying to get a hold of her to get on the round table, but he's having a hard time getting her on the round table. But what was interesting is she just did a video on a smaller channel. And she had a hat, and on the hat it said Vax 2. So that was the Josh Coleman stuff. Yeah, that's but she was wearing the movie hat.
Oh, that's cute.
I thought that was funny, but
that is cute.
But I'm looking forward to actually interviewing her and just sitting back and just listening to the whole history, because she has an amazing amount of history about what was going on. It's just amazing to hear her life story and in her research. the scientific side of the research, just fascinating. And then what happened to her when she was trying to be a whistleblower and how they went after her, even though she was doing the right thing. She's a patriot. Everything she's done is what someone should do, but they try to bury her, literally.
It feels like they try to do that with anyone that tries to come out with something truthful or trying to inform the public. I mean, Patterson would be an example, and then other people, they have things happen to them, and it's really sad. And also, though, it shows us we really do need to keep trying to fight for these things, not let that stop us.
That's right. I envision that there's an Occupy America movement that just it's about no vaccines, no tagging, no surveillance.
There has to be.
So from your perspective, all right, I'm seeing it from the New York City side of it, but from where you are, do you think that's something that could happen in your area?
I'm associated with here, that they would definitely be up in arms, protesting and having a movement here.
But in your area, I would, where would one go? I mean, to the city hall?
So they all meet in Phoenix. Yeah, they meet at the, is it City Hall? Let me see if I remember.
Occupy Wall Street was right on Wall Street,
Yeah, they had one, and then they're going to have another one. Let's see if I can pull it up where it's going to be. Where's this one? So they usually go to the Capitol. The next one's going to be at the Liberty Bell. And then they had a protest around there.
So what are these protests, what are they saying? Are they having elements of, of the things that I've been talking about the BioPatriot Act?
Well, they're talking about opening up America. They've been focusing a lot on the vaccines, but they haven't been focusing on the decaching as much, but they do keep an eye on it. So remember that time that I contacted them and they were already aware and such. But they're really, really focusing on the vaccines, because a lot of them, either their child was affected or they were affected. The women that are part of this group, there are men that are part of this group too, but it's usually the women that I'm corresponding with more often. And they really want the businesses to continue here. I mean, I'm noticing small businesses are closing down. My friend, who was very supportive in me creating my book and such, she had to close her art studio down. I'm seeing just a lot of businesses in these areas that I've always shopped in. I mean, I hadn't been out in a while, so I drove around. I took my kids out, and I was looking, and I'm like, wow, that one closed, that one closed, that one closed, sign just removed. So
it's just right after Lehman. It's just right after Lehman. Yeah, but that's kind of like what happened with Lehman.
So the small businesses are really hurting. Yes.
One business was closing right after another, another, and all the strip malls were starting to become empty. And
yeah, so that they actually are clearing out. I mean, and I'm seeing for lease signs, and then the houses, I'm seeing more houses, but I mean, this is the season for selling houses, but I'm seeing more houses up for sale.
Are they saying for sale by owner? That's usually a sign if it's for sale by owner.
Yeah,
it's distress. It's a distressed sale.
Yeah, there are some. Yes.
Yeah. So
I was going to take another walk tonight and then kind of make some more observations, kind of count how many.
I mean, this is why I was saying early on my channel, I don't know if you heard it or not, but I mean, when I was talking to a Wake Up, we were talking about the government has to put a moratorium on any foreclosures. So there should be a provision that is an executive order that states that if you lose your job or if you have a business and you are, in default with your mortgage, that the mortgage company cannot take it and that they have to extend the loan by the number of months that you're behind. So if someone, let's say it takes 3 months to get back to work.
Yes.
All right. then they would extend the loan for 3 months at the end. So they don't have to pay in advance the 3 back months that they missed in payments, that they just start, the clock ticks when the clock starts ticking again once they get back to work. So that first month that they get back to work, that's the mortgage payment that they make. So any past mortgage payments are at the end of the loan. And you just say, if you want your license to be able to process loans and to make mortgage loans, then you're going to have to do this, and just force the issue on the mortgage companies. Now people would say, well, that causes a problem because that there are bonds that are issued, mortgage-backed security bonds that need the coupon payment. That you know what, the banks get so much liquidity from the Federal Reserve, they just eat it. It's only 3 months worth, and you're going to get the money later at the end of the loan. It's not like you're going to lose the money. You're going to just get it later. So
that reminds me to tell you something too. They were trying here in Arizona to get the governor to postpone the property taxes because there are a lot of people struggling who weren't able to pay their property taxes here.
Yeah.
And I forgot who it was, someone maybe from the Treasury or something or other, was sending emails to all the citizens saying, please write the governor so that way we can postpone the income tax payment, property tax payment. And no, they never got a response from the governor. They had written the governor to the Treasury, and the governor never responded, so they weren't able to postpone it for people. And then they wrote a letter to all the citizens just saying, like, I'm so sorry, we tried, we couldn't get the governor to respond. And it just felt so sad. I mean, granted, okay, yeah, I paid my property taxes, but think of all the people that lost their jobs or got laid off or whatnot, and they can't pay their property taxes. For the governor to not even respond?
I think what should happen is that they give them an extension, that there's an ability to pay the property taxes with an extension. You file an extension, and then, it's give them a 6-month extension. Here's the problem with the states. All the states are basically bankrupt because there's no activity going on. Mm-hmm. So they're in serious trouble. All the states are. So that's one problem. But the only way out of this is just to give people relief and time to get back on their feet. That's all that we need. It's just time to get back on their feet. And these people that are waving, a loan in front of someone that is default and saying, well, I'm going to take your property now. Those are vultures in my mind. They're taking advantage of people in a situation that was not their fault. It was the fault of Fauci and the gang and the CCP making a bioweapon, and it leaks out. This is why it's so important to not only try to prevent the BioPatriot Act from happening and losing our civil liberties and getting tagged and force vaccinated, but also having the powers that be that started the genesis of this weapons program to be prosecuted in a court of law. They need their day in court, but we need to find out in a court of law what happened, and if they're found guilty, they need to be punished, whatever that court deems necessary.
I feel like it goes even deeper and deeper too. I almost feel like, I don't even know if I should say it, but I feel like there's an agenda also to tank the economy with this, and then
well, they want to weaken the United States. If you weaken the United States, and you get rid, and right.
That's what I feel like.
Right.
I really do feel like that.
People will be weak. They won't be, they'll just take anything. Socialism will roll right in, and then they'll integrate us right into the New World Order.
That's exactly what I feel like is trying to happen.
But I think the American spirit is bigger than that.
No, I feel like, even this whole state, like, I feel like there isn't anyone that I currently know that wouldn't be ready to be like, no way, you're not doing that to us here. But that's this state, and it's the people that I'm around and associated with. But I can't speak for all the other states. And
see, I don't see the galvanizing in New York like that. In New York City, I mean, you know New York City. I just don't, I think that I don't think they'll do the protesting.
you think they'll just go for it? And they
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
It does feel like people just want to get back to eating bonbons and sitting on the couch and doing whatever. Like,
Well, some of them are eating bonbons right now and sitting on the couch. I mean, nothing's changing, you know. But
they're happy with their bonbons.
they're happy with their bonbons. You know, it's just that they're eating bonbons all day long right now. Normally, it was only at night.
Yeah, there you go. They just want to eat their bonbons and watch their TV or whatnot.
Right. You know, but now they're eating their bonbons and watching TV all day.
Yeah, they just want to keep it that way. Yeah, give me a vaccination. I'll just stay here like this.
I don't know. We are slowly drifting into socialism and communism.
Drifting into something that does not feel okay at all. I mean, if I'm listening to these things and I'm getting emotionally upset, that tells me that we really need to pay attention. We really need to start standing up and making a change. I mean, I'm trying to do my part here of trying to establish networks with people to help people become more self-sufficient and trade and network and such. But we really need a lot of people to just do that, and also to realize what's going on and what's in things. And it's like, how do we change a mindset? Like, if someone goes through the education system and they go through certain indoctrination, how do you change someone quick enough? Like, that keeps going through my mind. And then,
well, this movement that I'm trying to kind of like galvanize, Boston Tea Party movement or whatever, it's not a party, but I mean, it's just this concept of revolt, right?
Yes.
It's revolt. You have to target all the generations, the baby boomers, the Gen Xers, the Gen Y, the millennials. It's not a generation thing. It has to be everybody. But when you package the thought, it has to be packaged in a way for each of those generations to absorb it.
Good point.
So that's why I have Brother on. Brother taps into the younger generation.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Right?
And he is younger too. He's in his 20s.
Right. You know, but when I talk to Nurse is older.
Mm-hmm.
So that's talking to the baby boomers.
Yes, that's very smart.
When we're talking really at a level of the Gen Xers. So, you know, there's different ways to approach this, and we all have different perspectives, different life experiences because of our generations. But I think who really leads this is the Gen Xers. It's not a young generation because they don't know what it was before all this technology. It's not the baby boomers because they're honestly too old to be more active in it, and you know, but we're right in the middle.
Yes. And
it's really our generation that leads this fight, you know, and prevent this Bio-Patriot Act from happening. My concern is that these protests, like what was happening in Lansing or what's happening in Arizona, they're only one element of this
I feel like the protests aren't enough. Like, I don't think
the people that are protesting are educated enough about.
They were trying to educate people, and it's such a good idea, but people just turn away. They don't care. They just look away. They're like, whatever, you know, or some people are really rude. Very few people were like, yeah, right on. So I didn't feel like it was effective enough. I know Joshua Coleman has gotten a lot of positive feedback from his demonstrations where he, I think, dressed up like some Star Wars figures and such, and did it in just the right location and got a lot of media attention and such. But I feel like the protests aren't enough. Like, it really has to be, we make a stand by saying no. And I've been trying to do that. Like, I started going back, like I went back to homeschooling my kids as you know, because I felt like that was a way of taking a stand. Like, okay, I don't like the way the education system is indoctrinating my kids to think a certain way. And I don't like this, I don't like that. Well, okay, I'm gonna take back, they had 1 year of public school, I'm gonna take it back and I'm gonna go back to homeschooling. And that was like my first step. And I was telling people, if you want to start making these steps, say no to the vaccinations. And if you absolutely are being forced to vaccinate, then homeschool. And now the women that I'm associated with, they're in a position where they're like, I think I'm just going to start homeschooling my kids after having been with their kids for like a month or two now and seeing the difference in behaviors with their kids, in nutrition, all these things. I'm hearing from these other mothers here. They're like,
Did you hear about?
Asking me like, should I homeschool? Should I not? What do you think? What kind of?
Did you hear about the Harvard professor saying homeschooling should never happen?
No.
You see that article? I'll see if I can dig it up. But there was a Harvard professor that was saying that homeschooling is bad for children. I think homeschooling, for if it's done correctly, is great for children.
Yes.
But that's the thing, is it has to be done correctly. But I would say that there needs to be the people that are doing the protesting, the ones that are kind of usually there's a leader or an organizer. Those organizers need to get more educated about what I'm talking about in terms of this Biopatriot Act. Yes. It's about decashing. It's about forced vaccinations. It's about E7 towers and that surveillance state that it creates.
We need a way to communicate right now. I think it's really important to start thinking about, and this has been coming to me a lot lately, how are we all going to communicate? If YouTube videos get taken down, Facebook videos get taken down, Instagram stuff gets taken down, Vimeo stuff gets taken down. I mean, we have a few other sources like maybe Brighteon or BitChute or whatnot. Even the Discord, that one doctor got taken off of Discord. So, and that was a surprise because I always thought Discord was one of the more safer ways to.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. I was shocked that happened.
It was a huge shocker.
But he was really going hard on. He was really going against Kaufman. And so I think that's what it is that I think Kaufman is a psyop. So Dr. McCurran is going against Kaufman. Kaufman goes on Richie from Boston to try to convince the truther movement that's not a virus, get reinfected and then force the vaccine.
Yes.
That's, I think, and I think Kaufman, I have a hard time believing that someone went through medical school and doesn't believe germ theory. I mean, that's shocking to me. All right. There's lots of MDs and surgeons that don't believe in the pharmacological way of healing people, but that's different than not believing germ theory. Because these other people that are saying, you know what, I don't want to have my patients be so dependent on pharmaceuticals. Maybe they should try homeopathy. But there's a lot of MDs and DOs that think that way. Mm-hmm. But to say that you don't believe in germ theory, that's like, how could you? Your first half of your first year is dealing with pathogens, and those are germs. So how could you not? And we can tell that certain areas of our genes have been inserted by viruses. These retroviruses insert DNA into our genome and cause some problems with overexpression or underexpression. Some cancers are caused this way. So not all cancers are viral. There's some cancers are. The far majority are not viral related, but there are some that are related to like HPV is one, or HIV is another. SV40 is another one. So, that's the far majority of cancers are because of some chaotic thing that happens in the cell that bypasses the checkpoints to prevent the cell from over dividing. And when you have an immune system that doesn't suppress that, then it runs out of control and becomes a tumor and then eventually metastasizes. So, but to have a doctor that doesn't believe in germ theory is just way too weird to me. So I think that Kaufman's a psyop. So I think Dr. McCurran was shining a light on him, and they wanted to shut him down to continue the psyop. Because I have a hard time believing an MD really believes what he's saying, especially if you come from MIT.
How is Kaufman not getting taken down? Right?
Well, yeah, exactly.
That's the point. Is how is he able to?
Or why is Richie from Boston not taken down?
Yeah, exactly. So they want to.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, I understand that. They want people to get.
It's almost like both of them are.
So that they can achieve their goal with their agenda.
Right.
Yes.
So in parting, because I'm going to have a special guest, Miss Taiwan, calling in on the show. So in parting, what's the best way for people to get a hold of you? And I know you have a book, and you have a lot of really kind of cool information about your garden and
Yeah. Phase 4 is really coming together too. So next is the water lines, and then I'll start planting probably this weekend. So to get a hold of me, if someone puts in Rainbow Food Rocks or Gail Angelis into Google or any kind of search engine, I should come up. My email is info@rainbowfoodrocks.com if someone has a specific question. On Instagram, I go by kajal.kaja.378. And on Facebook, it's Rainbow Food Rocks. And it's pretty easy to get a hold of me. I haven't had any trouble. Like, people find me after I'm talking to you and say very cute things.
So what I'll do is I'll put your contact information in the description box. So anyone that would like to contact you, it would be easy for them to do that while they're watching this video. So thank you for coming on a special episode of Coronavirus War Room, and we're kind of just talking about the idea of organizing and protesting in your local area, what I call Occupy America, to try to prevent these different elements of the Biopatriot Act. And it's very important that everyone bands together so we're not forced vaccinated. So thank you, Gail, for helping out, and I appreciate it. So let me stop the recording here.